The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the EACC, now insists that the government paid 1.5 billion Kenya shillings as compensation to businessman Francis Mboro for a parcel of land it owned through a surrender dating back to 1984.
Documents submitted to the Environment and Land Court indicate that Mboro, through his companies Afrison and Hewlands, surrendered the land on which two public schools are built in Ruaraka, and later, through fraudulent means, acquired back the land and claimed 3.2 billion shillings as compensation for compulsory acquisition. Our political editor Francis Gashuri has the details.
The Ruaraka land compensation paid out in January this year to controversial businessman Francis Mboro points to an intricate web of conspiracy that the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission claims was largely anchored on forged documents. EACC, in documents submitted to the Environment and Lands Court, alongside an affidavit sworn by one of its key forensic investigators, Alfred Joel Mwendwa, holds that Mboro had already surrendered the parcel of land on which drive-in primary and Ruaraka secondary schools are built, but proceeded to claim compensation from the Ministry of Education through the National Land Commission. In essence, EACC says the government was hoodwinked into buying a 13.5-acre parcel of land that it owned through a well-choreographed scheme. EACC in the documents shows that Mboro, in November 1983, through a company known as Drive-In Estate Developers, had surrendered a portion of the 96 acres parcel of land for public utilities after a conditional subdivision approved by the then Nairobi City Council, the key condition being that the land would be used to establish a nursery, primary and secondary schools, a social center, a special purpose plot, and shopping centers in land that would be surrendered to the government at no cost. However, Nairobi City Council then was perturbed by Mboro's request for compensation of 5.85 million shillings before the surrender, on the basis that the land on which the two schools would be built was private, that ought to have been paid for before acquisition. When his compensation request was turned down, Mboro wrote to the Director of Planning at City Hall in April 1984, stating that he was no longer interested in the conditional approval of the Ruaraka land subdivision and wanted the entire application cancelled. However, barely a month after the purported cancellation of the subdivision application, Mboro's company Drive-In Estate Developers requested the Commissioner of Lands to reallocate him the portion of land that had been surrendered to allow them construct the schools and a shopping center. In February 1985, Drive-In Limited declined to sell a 1.7-acre parcel of land to Bidan Mbogwa, stating that the portion of land had been surrendered for the construction of a primary school. EACC is also accusing Mboro of seeking compensation through documents acquired in a fraudulent manner. This includes a notification of approval of development communicated by J.K. Barre, who was then the Director of City Planning and Architecture. EACC wants the court to compel Mboro to pay back the 1.5 billion shillings that he received in January this year as phase 1 of the 3.2 billion shillings that he is seeking from the Education Ministry as compensation. The Commission also wants the court to stop a further 1.7 billion shillings compensation to Mboro and order the processing of title deeds for Ruaraka secondary and drive-in primary schools. Francis Gashuri, Citizen TV.